You know why I said that? Because when the video glitched,
Oh,
I turned it
yeah.
off and turned it back on. Oh my God, I have never. And I was just looking up there. I'm like, oh, how much is this uploading? Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's cute.
Rob. Oh,
So let's start
no.
the session with the boo-boo that we've made.
Yeah.
And let's
Eh,
let's rewind. I don't mind.
all right. We'll do that. We're prepared. We'll call that like a dress rehearsal.
That was a dress rehearsal.
And
So
we'll be.
if you're just watching this now, we've just done a 35-minute dress rehearsal.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
realized that the recording wasn't happening. So you missed out on some juicy bits, but we'll try and relapse for everyone who's
Yes,
watching.
all those things you said. Oh, please cut out. Now we'll just not say. I cannot believe this is the first time ever We've talked for 35 minutes, and I looked down to see how long we've been talking, and I hadn't pushed record. All right, moving forward.
Moving forward.
This is all
Great
we were going to talk about grief and loss.
reintroduction.
I'm feeling grief and loss from what just happened. Oh man, embarrassed. I probably look as red as a tomato.
Good.
Oh, holy shit. All right, so let's just start right back into it and say, Rob, I have been wanting to talk to you for a while. I followed you online. I think of originally it was because I'd seen you in photographs for certain photographers.
Yep.
I remember the hairy chest. I remember those eyes. I was like, sweet Jesus, who is this person? So I then followed you back to your Instagram, and then found out you're a life coach, and you're posting all these really positive videos and affirmations, and come to find out you're an NPL. Wait, I didn't even remember this.
NLP.
NLP. What does that stand for?
Their life coach.
Right. And so it made me think, like, I didn't know at the time, like, a difference between, like, what a therapist was or a life coach was or a counselor. I didn't know if, like, anyone could call themselves a life coach. So I just wanted to ask you again.
Deja vu.
I know I feel like such an idiot. If you never want to talk to me again, I understand. If you could explain possibly what the difference is between, like, a therapist and a life coach. And how you became a life coach. I almost feel like I had a deja vu. Yeah, if you could walk us through that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So what I do as opposed to a therapist, therapists really focus on the now, and a bit of in the past, right? Like, so it's like, how are you feeling? Where does that come from? All that stuff. So it's present and past, so to speak. They also talk a little bit about future, but with life coaching, the way I always describe it is it's similar to a sports coach. All right. When an athlete comes in, they're like, this is where I am. This is my goal. This is the race I need to win. Right. I need help getting there. So as a coach, I come in, I want to get an understanding of where you are right now. What's your main goal? What are your obstacles and what are your barriers? Let's figure out a path forward and design that. But along the way, we're looking under the hood to see what's been holding you back, how we can help you perform better, right? And overcome, because there's always root causes for the behaviors, the attitudes, the beliefs that we have, which have been holding us back. Right. So as a coach,
is this all mental, like conversations, or is it physical therapy? Do things cross over? Is this just like conversations? Or, like personal trainer, because I don't know if it involves like physicality, or is it just all sort of like conversations and talking and dialogue? And
so my job as a coach is not to tell you what to do. Okay. Right? My job is to listen, ask really good questions, and guide you and into the direction that you want to go. Right. So it's obviously through asking really good questions that allows you to come up with the answers that you have inside you already. So, an example, I had a session with a gentleman earlier today who he's struggling. He's got his goals, but he's struggling to take action, right? And what we discovered was, going back to childhood, he was attaching external validation because of a significant event that happened in his life, where he was going through college and and failing, blah, blah, blah. And then he finally got through it. So when he went to celebrate to his parents, he didn't get the validation or the celebration that he was expecting from his dad.
Gotcha.
Right. His dad didn't jump up for joy or do all those balloon parties, blah, 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 blah.
Right. That maybe he needed.
That he wanted. He's like, that's what he expected. Right. His dad didn't respond the way that he wanted him to. But his dad spent years apologizing to him, saying sorry. And he said, I don't want to hear it. It's in the past.
Oh, he thought, okay, your opportunity has passed.
100%. So,
and they build up whole brick walls.
So what we came to was that what's been holding him back is, so he goes to start a goal, but he says, what's the point? What's the point is the conversation he's having in his head. So what's the point? Because I'm not going to get that external validation. Right? So we obviously looked back. We gave it different meaning. We looked, how can we look at this situation?
So instead of even trying, I'm just not even going to do that because I'm not going to get the valid. Oh shit! I understand that too well.
Yeah, right. So it's about. So what was missing is he's doing the goals for the external validation from someone else. His dad's passed on, right? So he was still on. His dad still had that voice in his head, but we had to shift. It's like, you're doing this for you, right?
Right.
But also, your dad loved you and was proud of you. He just didn't show it in the way that you wanted it to. Right?
That's so interesting, yeah.
So when, you think about life coach, and that was just an unexpected thing that came up, right? But those are some examples of things that came up. And like, I'm stuck, but I don't know what. I'm like, cool, let's dig into it.
Right.
And so I have tools and strategies that I share with clients that help them overcome those. Right, reframing techniques, all those things that really come useful in moving forward. Because we all got patterns, we've got beliefs, and limiting beliefs.
Absolutely. I mean, every one of us, man, woman, everybody in between and beyond, are working towards trying to probably make their life better for them on a daily basis. Whether it's like relationships, coworkers, sex. A relationship with their own body, a relationship with faith or God. So everyone has like sort of a relationship with this. It's funny we bring this up about I am currently looking for a therapist, and it seems, and it's something I've put off for years now, because the idea of having to find a therapist, and I went to a therapist in like 2007, had a great experience. The person was incredible, got me past what was going on then that I needed. But the idea of going back to a therapist and starting over, or not even knowing where to start with that therapist, has been enough of a block for me to not even search for a therapist. Until recently, my husband hounded me because he's been encouraging me to see his therapist just for life reasons, a lot of stuff going on. And I recently got hooked up with a therapist through his insurance. But, oh my God, you're going to have to, well, you don't diagnose me, but I'm curious what you think. But I was assigned with a therapist through my insurance. I didn't pick the therapist. I didn't get to filter out like what I sort of wanted. But when the therapist sent me his bio and his profile, I am not a man of God. I don't go to church, but his profile had faith-driven, faith-based, biblical studies offered. It was like such to me. I was like, oh no, I cannot be. I personally, I mean, I'm sure they're a great person and a great therapist, but that's not the kind of person I want to talk to. So I canceled my appointment. So out of years of trying to go, I finally got hooked up, got my insurance set up, saw the person's profile, and then canceled my appointment. That's
all right. Like, listen, I think when you are going through that journey, even with a coach, right, it's like a massage therapist, right? If you don't connect, you don't connect. If you're not feeling that vibe, you're not feeling that vibe. It is a very specific thing. And I actually recently started working at a wellness retreat, which is a rehabilitation center for drug, alcohol, and mental fatigue. And there's three of us, me and my best friend and another friend. We all applied, and they brought one of us on, and we suggested to them, like, listen, it'd probably be wise to have a few of us coaches on, because it is a very specific thing, and not everyone is going in line with that one coach, right? Like, if you're going to bring a female on, and then you have a male coming in as a client, and they want to talk to a female, like, there's going to be a different alignment. Yeah. Now, there are plenty of women that have men coaches. There are plenty of men that have women coaches, right? But at the end of the day, some people just have a preference of, I want to work with Rob because he's going to understand my story. I relate to his story.
Yeah.
He's going to understand me a lot better.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I've got a very colorful background journey.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of stories in my journey that will resonate with a lot of people.
Right.
I've lived a colorful life, and I love it.
I guess it also depends on some of the person's things they're going through in their pasts and what that is. Like if it's like relationships with like maybe abuse from men, or you know what I mean, or sex issues with their comfortability, whatever they bring to the table might decide who and what they feel best to talk to. But like I said, I only brought it up because I saw that he was like faith driven, and it just was enough for me to be, I don't think it was a good match for me. Like we had a very nice exchange. I said, hey, I read your profile. I just don't think it's a good match. And of course at that point I didn't invest anything. So I just was like, okay. But now I'm back to the point where I don't have a therapy appointment.
Well, so if I'll send you my booking link and we can organize.
Yes. Wait, you're in Brisbane. Isn't that how it's pronounced?
Brisbane,
right? Who would ever pronounce it Brisbane? Maybe the old me.
Yeah. The old, we're in hashtag new you.
New you era. Yeah, from 30 minutes ago. So what brought you to Brisbane? And because you're originally from Vancouver?
Vancouver, but 12 hours north Vancouver.
Okay.
A little town called Smithers.
Yeah.
That is nestled in this beautiful little valley. Population of 7,000. We have a huge mountain right there facing us that we get to play on summer, winter. It is, as we mentioned earlier before we hit the record button.
Yeah. The warm up.
We're warming up, but it's you go home and you appreciate these landscapes so much more as an adult going back home. But when you grow up and you're just used to it, you're like, oh, it's just a mountain. But you go home and you're like, it's a really big mountain actually, and it's quite beautiful.
Gorgeous, especially if you have different seasons, like the snow in the mountain.
Yep.
And then what?
30, 40. Like I'm sure you guys are aware of that in New York.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Burr.
Yeah.
Yeah, Burr. Yes. So then you just got on a plane and went to Brisbane?
No, I flew. My first partner, I moved to Vancouver, got into a 4-year relationship, fresh into the gay scene, didn't even get to enjoy, or not joy, but experience single life as a gay guy as I came out. So I jumped straight into this 4-year relationship with a guy that was 20 years older than me. And we, we kind of became open. He understood that I was on this journey and like I needed to experience life more. We ended up moving to Australia on a 6-month holiday visa. And we're like, maybe this will rebond us and new scenery,
ignite,
new people, fresh start, blah, 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 blah. It didn't work out. We split up after 2 months, but it was being in Sydney. It was the first time that I was able to experience being single and gay and creating my own identity, because my identity was attached to my partner in Vancouver. That's who I was.
That all makes sense.
Right. And so I fell in love with the culture, the people, the accent. I'm still on the hunt to meet Hugh Jackman. He was one of the big drivers behind me coming to Australia.
That's funny. That's hilarious. You get him. You go get him.
Yeah, I'm going to get him. He's mine.
You get him and take pictures and video.
You touch him. He's mine.
Yeah. Wolverine.
That's a whole nother.
What were you doing at that time? Were you a life coach at that time?
No. I was. What was I doing? When I first moved to Australia, I was working at this little gay cafe right in the heart of the gay community. And it was run by this straight couple, Will and
Grace.
Will and Christian.
Okay.
And, looking at Christian, you're like, he's gay. 100% he's gay.
Right.
He's boy, and he's flirty, very
he's got the swish.
Will just looked like a lesbian, an angry lesbian. Right? And so I started working there, and I was like the fresh meat in town. And all the gay people came through this cafe. So I got to meet a lot of people. And Australia doesn't tip. Tipping wasn't big then.
Oh, okay.
And so
a cultural thing, yeah.
Yeah, I worked my ass off to get tips. And I would flirt, and I would be fun, and I'd make an excuse.
That shirt. You'd wear that slutty shirt, buttoned all the way down to mid-chest.
But I would just sit on people's laps like, so all right, so dessert's coming up. How would you like it? Do you want to play train, planes, or automobiles? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd always pick on the drunk guy. The drunk guy in the group was always the funny one. It'd be like, who can make who blush first? But I would sit on their laps and I'm like, all right, open up. Like, and I would just have fun with it. But it was a great atmosphere.
Well, those are the people that come back too, probably like repeat customers.
They remember that stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, I had this waiter sit on my lap and spoon me ice cream. Like,
just a Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's a regular Tuesday night. But then I got into personal training. I started studying. That was my introduction to the health and wellness industry. I started a business. I worked with corporate companies. So I was doing boot camp side. Then I studied massage because I needed a visa. Didn't want to study massage. I'm like, I don't want to rub naked people or rub naked old people, right?
Yeah.
I ended up falling in love with it. It was great money. Started another business because that's what I do. I got the itch for the entrepreneurship. And
I mean, so many people make money and someone else's dream come true. So I'm glad that you're
it was like
this path is happening for you right now.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt there.
Go work around somebody else's clock. I'm like, I love having my freedom and flexibility. Then I got into the network marketing space, coaching through that space, which was really fun. Did a few different gigs. I did crypto, did CBD oil, did isogenics, did travel, right? Learned so much over those years through the coaches that I had coaching me.
Oh, did you have a life coach?
Not a life coach, but my own coach within those industries.
Okay, gotcha.
So
gotcha.
You also learn from leading experts who are making millions of dollars in their businesses, right? And so these conferences, and you learn and you absorb, and so then obviously COVID kicked in. We went into lockdown. My mom became unwell. I flew back to Canada. And then coming back to Canada, my mom had just passed. Or no, coming back to Australia, my mom just passed away. And I wasn't in the capacity to work with people. So then I went into plants and horticulture because I'm like, I don't work with people. And that path I was really excited for. Doing a diploma of landscape design, right? Get my juices flowing. Until the price came out, right? I just couldn't afford it. I kind of started from square one, moving up here in Brisbane.
Sucks that someone would have to make a decision based on price, life decisions. But I mean, I'm in America, so
I was like, all right, not the path I'm going down. And I think I learned really quickly to make peace with things that don't work out. And I think there's a tattoo on my arm. So you see that? So it's a mantra that says flow, not force.
Okay.
So when things don't work out, trust it. Go with the flow. Don't try and force things. I got that tattoo while I was back in Canada looking after my mom. All right. Because before that, I had actually planned to move up to Brisbane just after getting my visa. The week before I planned to move up, the borders closed. Then my mom ended up in the hospital. Christ. I put everything into storage, flew back to Canada. So I'm like, all right, the universe is taking me. It's not my time yet.
Right, you had a cascade of events that happened.
Yes.
Like you were saying.
Stepmom, my partner's mom died the day I left back to Canada. So I had to leave him alone in lockdown. Hardest thing I've ever had to do. Jesus. Like, it still gets me that emotional tug when I think about it.
Yeah.
And then our dog died 2 months after that. And then my cat died 2 weeks before I was supposed to come back to Australia. Fuck. And then just after I got back to Australia, my mom passed away 5 days after that. So it was just this 10-month period of emotional roller coaster loss and all these things. And there's some great things. I made some really great friends and all that stuff. But it was just the universe dunking me over and over and over.
Yeah, I love that. And you were like saying, you said you put on some weight because just your physical health and like your activity level and budget was like lowered. And
yeah, it was when my mom died because I was partying in Vancouver and stuff. And I was just like, enjoying myself. But then when my mom died, I kind of just checked out. And I was just like, I'm just going to stop fighting this. I'm just going to go through this journey. Yeah. If I want to drink, I'm going to drink. If I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat. It wasn't to avoid.
Right.
It wasn't to avoid the emotions or the feelings, but like, I'm just going to enjoy myself. Right?
It's like giving yourself, like allowing yourself to like. It might not be the first choice or healthiest option, but just allowing yourself to have a little bit of relief, I guess.
100%. I gave myself permission.
Unless you're an addict, that line is so thin.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, you know that.
Yeah, my mom was an addict. She was an alcoholic, and that's how she passed. Was years of alcoholism, and I talk about a lot of that in my book that's coming out soon. We'll talk about that in a sec. But it's, I've never had that addictive personality.
Right.
And so after that, I gained a bunch of weight. I went up to my heaviest. I was like 103 kilos.
Right.
And I always just said, I'm like, when I'm ready, I'll know I'm ready to get back in action. Right. So don't try and force it.
Right.
Just go through what you need to go through. Right?
Flow with it.
You will know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Get back into action. And I actually read a book by Mel Robbins called The High Five Habit.
I want this book because, like, you're saying things to me, which I'll say in a second, like, relate directly to my life, like, at this moment today, like, being at a moment and you're ready. But we'll talk more about that in a second.
Yeah. So this
but Mel Robbins,
book,
yeah.
Definitely recommend this book. I recommend it to a lot of my clients. She talks about the power of the high five. How it's a universal language. We do it to everyone. Congratulations. Keep going. You're doing amazing. Well done. Blah, 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 blah. And so I got this book. I ordered it. I read it in 2 days. That's how good it was.
Oh, shit. You couldn't put it down.
Yeah, because I was just like, oh, my God, she's speaking to me. So she takes you through this exercise, and she dives into the science of the high five. And it's quite fascinating when she dives into it. But she gets you to this exercise where you go and stand in front of the mirror. And you look into your eyes, and you become present with yourself, right? And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. But what I was doing prior to that was I was looking in the mirror, and I was shaving myself. I was looking at my body. I was like, oh, you got a little saggy boob on the side. You've got.
Are you kidding me? I shower in the dark.
Yeah,
I don't like looking in the mirror when I get out of the shower.
Right.
Yeah.
What this exercise did is I was standing in the mirror. You look in your eyes. Oh, cutie.
This is my new. We're talking about serious stuff, but this is my Diego.
Amazing.
He's a new buddy, but you can't be on the table. Say hi, Rob.
Mine are sleeping. They're spooning. They're big spooners.
Yeah. Sorry, you were like completely talking about something.
So it was you stand in the mirror and you look into your eyes and you're present with yourself, and you acknowledge all the stuff that you've been through.
Yeah.
And you remind yourself that you're still standing here. Right. I've just been knocked down 4 times. I've just lost 4 people that are so close to me, and I'm still standing here and I'm okay. Right. And you do the actual exercise of well done. Actually, high five in the mirror.
I feel like maybe I've seen that. Okay.
And
sounds familiar.
It was a post. I made a post about it, but the picture I posted was the first time I did it. And you can see in my eyes that I actually cried going through this process because I'd forgotten to celebrate and all the stuff that I'd gone through. And I wasn't acknowledging that. Right.
I feel like this stuff makes you a great life coach. Like having gone through this and been underwater and come up and experienced all this, I feel like this probably makes you a much better life coach. Just a random thought, because you've sort of been there and you've been through it and you have high-fived yourself, and then here you are. All that in you are able to like see it in other people and help them sort of like, I don't know, confront their thinking errors and help them curb their thinking. And
as simple as that exercise sounds, that was just I needed to get my ass in gear. And I made a decision that day that I'm going back to the gym. And I spent the next year focusing on my health, mental, physical, financial, spiritual, right? I'm like no boyfriends, no relationships. I was still having fun, but also like, entertaining people.
Yeah.
But I would say the guys were interested. I'm like, no, I'm not having a relationship. I'm on a journey myself right now. I need this year is about me.
Right.
And I was okay with that, and I stuck to that decision. And so, I got into coaching. Let's see. That's when so that year, that's when I was studying horticulture, and all
Right.
that. This is a long story to get to where I got to life coaching.
No, it's great. I mean, it's great. I'm all ears. It's so interesting. I'm connecting with so much what you're saying. It's just like in my current situation. So I like hearing all this.
So I spent that year. Obviously, the horticulture stuff didn't work out. Then my good friend, her mom messaged her, and she asked why I wasn't a life coach. Right?
She probably saw how you interact with people in the world around you, and was like,
my content that I was creating, right? The social media stuff, right?
This could be a thing for you, right?
And I was still showing up on social media with putting positive energy out there. Even after my mom died, I'm like, I need to show up for other people. And some people question that. They're like, why aren't you going through your grieving journey?
Right.
Why are you still showing up on social media like this? I'm like, this is how I'm healing myself. By me helping other people helps me heal.
Got it.
Right. And, and some people didn't understand that, but I was also a lot more aware of the energy I was putting out, and I wouldn't put pressure on myself to have to show up because I used to do that and I burned myself out.
You could see that it was an outlet when you needed it, but not like a burden of having to.
It made me feel good when I would put a post up and someone's like, oh my God, I needed to hear this today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
It's so funny about the social media and sharing and the burden of it. Cause in the last few months, like usually when something big is happening, I tend to go to social media and share. And then I have this like overwhelming, like embarrassment of like, I overshared. Because I see people sometimes online that I see them sharing stuff and I'm like, God, why are they sharing all this? Shouldn't they be like in recovery, or shouldn't they be healing, or why are they online sharing this? But like, I find great comfort sometimes in going on Instagram or Facebook and like just saying, hey, everybody, this is happening, and holy shit, I feel horrible. And it does feel good to sort of get it out there to a world that's like of some people I know, some just internet friends, but just, I'm not expecting comments, but
Maddie Schwank.
Maddie who?
Matt Schwank.
Yes.
Artist. So he just lost his dog yesterday, right? And he's been sharing his journey of going through that, and it's been emotional. It's like he's crying on screen, and then he's holding his dog, and like he's taking people through the journey. But he explains that he's like, I needed to do that. I needed to be with me through that journey.
I have a story which I won't get into right now, which involves him and is a regret of mine, and I don't want to get into it right now. But I called out artists a few years ago, and he was one of the artists I didn't call by name, but I called by their way of putting their art out, and he got really offended, and I think he probably dislikes myself. I forgot that was him, and it was like never intentionally for him. I just call out artists about having to like stand like in Speedos in front of their artwork in order to get their artwork out there, and I felt and this was him, and so he probably does not like me as a person. But
I remember the journey, and it's
I remember I called out artists, and I didn't call them out specifically, but I kind of described him perfectly about having someone with good legs having to stand in front of your artwork to just even getting your art seen. And is this what people have to do these days? But it was perceived
it's almost
not
like
the way
that,
I wanted
right?
to. And he felt very insulted and attacked. And anyways,
and it's that kind of world where it's sometimes you have to do things just to get a little more views on you.
Yeah,
right?
I get it. I get it. I just realized when you said his name, I was like, oh God, I know who you're talking about, and I feel horrible about. But also glad that he has a space online and people listening to grieve too.
We did Africa together. That's where I first met him.
Okay, yeah.
He's like
I don't know him personally, only from my like weird random attack on gay artists.
He is the biggest sweetheart. If you he will be like if you sit with him and you're talking about your shit, he is so present with you.
Yeah,
where like he's just like you want to just be held in his arms. He's just like a big giant.
I feel bad for this thing. So I guess keep going.
Yeah, go where we were talking about. Social media and grieving and putting your shit on social media.
Yeah, and I usually have this afterwards. I have deleted things. I felt so good to share and express and have people find out what I'm actually going through, like real stuff, not just like here's my armpit. I'm at the gym, like real stuff. And then I've afterwards been embarrassed and deleted it, and like, oh my God, what an idiot I am.
Listen, I used to do those photos where I'd be laying in bed and I'd be like, oh, long
I love
day.
all of those. I love
So,
all of them. I try to scratch and sniff the pictures. Yeah.
but I was like, I remember like, oh, long day, I'm shirtless, long day, exhausted. How was your week, right? And I would post it. I'm like, I knew it got a lot of likes, but I'm like,
Of course.
just cringing posting it, right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I see your photos. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it for just to get more followers and to build my social
I
following.
hear
Do I enjoy it? Am I looking?
you. Do I love it? Is that my like highest point of my accomplishments? No. I used to do interviews in the bathtub for a long time for my site Accidental Bear. I interviewed all sorts of people in the bathtub where we were like naked in a bubble bath, having a conversation just like this in the bubble bath. And of course, they got tons of attention, and all the gay blogs reposted and shared and like.
Brilliant.
My YouTube channel was deleted because someone deemed it was like offensive or something and went against policy and standards. But like those views, I actually often think, and I might do this sometime, get like just some shirtless guy in my interviews and just have him sitting in the background, clearly to make fun of the point of like it will
Eating
get clicks.
cake. He's just
eating cake, going through his Instagram. I shit you not, this is something I'm going to do in the future.
I love it. Or
Just
just
have
eating
him-
a cup of ice cream, like whatever, like something so random.
Yeah, just for the thumbnail.
Right? Clickbait. It's all about clickbait.
Well, that's what's happened when I've been following you. I've been seeing some of your videos and talking about grief and loss. I'm sorry I have to go through this again because we did it before we pushed record. But personally, a few months ago, my big, delicious orange kitty, we used to call Orange Cream Cloud. His name was Chicken Tenders. He had come down with renal disease, heart disease. There was nothing we could do for him medically. $10,000 of bills later. We decided to euthanize him here at home. Like I mentioned, I've cried like I never cried before. There was like noises coming from me. Ugh, yeah, it was tough. It is tough.
A pain. Like it's.
I look for him daily. I cry for him daily. His ashes are right behind me. I cried picking up his ashes. I just don't understand where he is and what does death mean. And then a few weeks after that, my older brother passed away from ALS. I was racing back to New York to see him in hospice. I missed that. So I had all this like grief and loss. A lot of it revolving around death. I'm not trying to get a free session here, like we were saying earlier, but like I'm someone who has like layers and layers of trauma. My youngest brother passed away and he drank himself to death in 2016. So it's my second brother. Growing up, I was abused physically, sexually, all through my childhood. Had drug issues. In high school, what a surprise. My parents' house burned down. There's been divorce. My dad's gone to prison. So I'm someone who's had like, my dad's tried to commit suicide and now he's actually 100% disabled from the state. So I'm someone who has like layers and layers and layers and layers. And we were talking earlier about like you come up from that wave and someone pushes you right back down. And then currently, some of those things I've dealt with, but how do you 100% squash them or have dealt with them? But with these current things, the loss of my brother and the loss of my cat, I've had just a lot of like thoughts of grief and loss, and it's made me think like, what do people do to deal with it? Like, how do people deal with it? Like, and I've turned to alcohol.
Yep.
It's like it feels so good to come home and all of a sudden start having feelings like looking for my cat. Wanting to call my brother and to tell him something and realize he's dead. So I drink so I don't feel anything. But
then you feel worse after.
Then I feel worse. Like I think we mentioned earlier when we didn't record. And then like, because I'm feeling bad, I'll eat something that makes me feel worse. And then I'll go on the apps and sleep with someone I don't really like. Just to feel even worse. Cause I'm in that vibe. I just want to feel, I don't want to feel things. And if I feel something, I want it to be awful. I just want to like hurt myself or something. Not in that way. Just do something to make me feel worse. So when I watched your videos about dealing with grief and loss, and I believe you have books on this subject, I was curious, like some ideas or thoughts or advice you have for anyone out there. Like I said earlier, Trump was reelected into office the day after my brother died, which is like enough for someone to like spiral into like.
And I think a lot of people did.
Hell,
right?
So I just, as a professional, I'm like curious if you have like ways for people to deal with grief or suggestions like in this life of also like so much information out there. I watch the news all the time, which people are like, why do you do that? Because it's just overwhelming information. Yeah, and then I was like, "Hey, Rob, you want to talk on the podcast?"
So, thank you for sharing.
That's a whole fucking load of information I just gave you.
I love
so.
it. Like, I love that I don't love that you've gone through the journey you've gone through, but it built you this character of who you are today.
I'm a character, all right?
And congratulations, because you're still fucking standing here.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing that people need to remember with grief is that there's no set manual when you're going through it. There's no specific way. We are very unique individuals with unique relationships to the person or the animal that's passed on. And how we go through that journey is going to be so different to how somebody else might go through it. Like, I lost my mom. And so when people are like, I know what you're going through, I'm like, no, you don't.
Oh, yes.
Because you don't know what the relationship connection I had with my mom. It's different than what you had. You understand that there is pain involved, that you understand that it is a sad time. You understand that, these other things, but you don't know exactly what I'm going through.
Oh, and that's so, where you said that, like, I've never heard somebody say that without sort of feeling bad about it. Just like when you tell someone your cat dies and like, oh, my cat died last year too. That makes me fucking angry. And so anyways, I connected with what you said.
Right.
And that person's giving you comfort and sharing with, like, I've also felt something, but like when they say it doesn't feel better.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
I'm like, oh, I hate it when people, and I understand that they're just trying to relate to you and try and soften, like, and try and create that common ground with you. But for me, I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, you don't know what I'm going through. Right. I appreciate you being here and you showing your concern and supporting me, but just those words they didn't sit right with me. And I think it is a very unique thing. And so when people come over, and this is something that I learned through my coaching work, when you go to a funeral, right, and you've got the person that's lost a parent or a loved one or a brother or sister, and you have all these people coming up to you and saying, I'm sorry, and they hug you, I'm so sorry, that energy is being transferred onto you. So you're like, I'm sorry. And it's just like that energy is coming into you and making you, like, bringing you down and down and down. So I'm so much more aware when I go to support someone, the words that I'm using, but the intention I'm going into when I'm going to make that physical contact. What's the energy I'll transfer to them?
That is so smart. I flinch. It makes me think of why when someone wants to offer me a hug, I'm like, Ngh.
So thank
you, but I don't want to be hugged right now.
So when you have someone that has lost a brother or something, give them the energy that you needed at that time, right? Like, it's be like, you're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. I'm proud of you, right? Or give them something that's going to boost them up instead of bringing them down. I'm so sorry. Because it's an energy exchange, and you got to be aware of those things. Because you think of a funeral, that person will stand there and have 15 people walk.
Oh, yeah.
Hug after hug.
It's like putting a weighted jacket on them. Here's 100%. Another vest. Here's another vest.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, wow.
Energy exchange. So with
grieving and loss.
Yeah. And, yes, it's a very unique journey for any of us to go through. There's no set manual for it, and there is no time expectancy on it. Like, there's no time limit. It's like, you need to be done grieving in 1 month, 2, 3 months, right? Obviously,
like we were saying earlier, like when I go to work, like we're talking about the mask again.
Yes.
Like I am the typical gay clown. I think I call myself, because at work I am the funny guy. I'm the one making jokes. I'm the one that can't stand silences. And so as soon as I walk out this front door, I just put on this mask and I'm in it. Like, I'm a block away at Starbucks joking with the barista. It's not like I'm in my car crying, but like, put that on and like, I feel guilty for having to like burden other people around me if I'm sad. And so I pretend I'm not sad and everything's fine.
And then how does that feel for you after?
Oh, so much energy. Well, I don't even want to say bad, but so much energy expended to make sure they're okay. Oh yeah, we could have a whole session on that.
So
I'm always making sure people are not affected by my sadness or my grief because I'm worried about them. And I'm like, oh, it's been 2 weeks. I should be over my dead brother and my dead cat by now.
So let me ask you this question. When people ask you how you're doing, how do you respond?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Is that the truth?
And then I usually make a joke about coffee because I love my coffee. Then I'm usually like, I'm all coffeeed up. Let's go.
So, and then what's the truth?
Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I don't want to talk. I'm sad.
Yeah. So why can't you just say that?
Yeah, that's funny. I've never been diagnosed as anything like as depression or anxiety. I feel like I'm just like, I skim through all those things. Like I've never, I don't know. I think I see a lot of people self-diagnosing themselves, which I never think's the best thing.
I think people go to that so easily. Oh, I'm depressed because I'm sad. I'm like, you're not depressed. How do you do depressed?
Yeah.
Right. If you're depressed, like, are you depressed when you're sleeping? Are you depressed when you're like, it's, how do you do depression? Right. So when I lost my mom, I would tell people I was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm actually okay. I'm fine with it.
Oh, I'm actually okay. That's a good one. Oh, yeah, because that implies like I should be worse, but I'm okay.
Yeah, he's actually she's at peace. I'm actually okay. Like, it's tough, but I'm actually okay. That was a fucking lie. I was lying, right? I was miserable.
I know.
That. But here's the thing. I had a discussion with myself one night. I'm like, why am I lying to people? Why am I telling the world I'm fine? My mom just died. I'm not supposed to be fine. Your mom just died unless you just have no fucking heart, right?
Yeah.
There is a piece of you that dies when you lose a family member, especially with your mom, right? There's a special bond between a mother and a child that happens, and you lose a piece of yourself. And so here I am parading around the world telling people I'm fine when I wasn't. And I was sitting with myself. I'm like, why am I telling people I'm fine? I'm not. I'm like,
right.
Every time I said I was fine, there was a weight added to my shoulders.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to be honest. I am going to be vulnerable. When somebody asks me, I'm like, no, I'm really shit right now. Right. And I had a massive shift from that day when I just I allowed myself to be vulnerable. I allowed myself to say how I was actually feeling. And I was like, I'm not being a burden on people. People are there to listen. People want to be there to listen, to burden.
I might underestimate people in my life then. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so there are people that are wanting to be there that are empaths. And like myself, I'm like, when I have a friend or somebody I know that loses their mom, I'm stepping in.
Yeah.
Right. I'm stepping in. I actually check in on them a few times over the next couple months. How are you doing?
Right.
Right. Because I went through my own journey. So it's, when we talk about masks, so I'm coming out with a book soon called Behind the Smile.
Behind the Smile. You've had quite a few books out. I've looked.
No. This is my first one. I've done a couple of ebooks.
Oh, ebooks. Like
yeah. Those are like
Unlock Resilience. Hello, navigating a guide for navigating life's challenges in the prime, navigating grief, feeling stuck in the relationship. I've done some research.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so let's talk about your book coming out.
Right, but this is an actual book called Behind the Smile, Unmasking the Silent Battles We Hide and the Strengths We Find. All right, so this book is my life story, but is me I dive into 15 different masks that we wear. And I've interweaved.
I'm intrigued.
It's I interwoven. I've interwoven my
interwoven,
intertwined, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's this book is a roller coaster of emotions. I take you up, I take you down, I take you back up, I take you down. It is a book that if you feel that you are hiding behind a mask, it helps you almost identify the mask, where the mask may have originated from, why we wear them, the pros, the cons of wearing the mask, steps to removing the mask, right? But I think the biggest thing I want to emphasize in this book is that we all wear masks. We still wear masks. I wear masks.
Right.
So when is the mask becoming unhealthy for you? When is it impacting your relationship? When is it impacting your work, your authenticity, your health? Right? So yes, we wear the mask, but when can you take it off?
It's
an
I
identity.
love this. I cannot wait to see it and read it. I'm just thinking about how this applies in the real world, and then how it applies on social media world. Like what you put out, like how you curate your life to the world. Like that's a mask. I feel like sort of.
And that's the mask. That was actually some of the inspiration behind this book. Was I was portraying myself as someone who had everything together on social media.
Yeah.
Right. Life was fine. Everything was good.
This is Goose.
Oh, it's just more.
This is cat number 2. That's Goose.
Nice. Goose. I love the name.
Goose.
And, and I was just going to be like, I'm just going to write a book, talk about the shit that I've gone through, the lessons I've learned, and how I've grown up. Right. And so it's become so much more of that. When I gave my first transcript to the editor, she's like, I think we need to go in this direction with the masks. Right. Because my first original chapter was 6 masks. Right. She's like, we need more masks. Let's do this.
Right.
And so it's been a massive journey going through this process of writing, and then there's some chapters and masks that have been some massive reflection on myself. And I call my shit out, and I'm very vulnerable in this. And there's some really...
I'm sure you're healing, going through this, and you're realizing things and healing. I keep going to the word healing, but
it's...
Your journey continues through the book, through processes. You're probably finding out. You're like, I didn't know I was going to go through this.
Yeah, but it's when I'll come to a story and I'm like, okay, what kind of mask would that be? And then I'll start doing my research into relation to that story, and I'll be like, cool, that's me. Like it's just, I'm like, oh my god, I do that. I've done that, and I've.
You're like, I'm talking about me
in my life, right?
Yeah.
But I talk about some of the really tough times when I was growing up as a little boy, and the relationship with my father, the relationship with my mother growing up with an alcoholic parent, and I talk about the last 10 months of being with my mom and some of the shit that I went through with that and some of the hardest stuff that I went through. And so, and just writing about it was not easy, right? And just seeing these memories. But yeah, it's, the book is a fucking roller coaster of
it's accumulation of like everything you've gone through. Is it like yourself from the vision of yourself in the book? Are you writing about yourself, or is it just sort of ideas and thoughts and situations?
It's my story. It's my life.
Okay.
I've been to
awesome.
Also client stories of mine.
Right.
I share in some of the chapters. And yeah, but it's like an autobiography / self-help book.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
But it is, it's quite interesting. And I know that no matter who picks up this book and reads it, you will identify, one, and if not more, of the masks that you wear. And I'm going through this book. I'm like, I've worn a lot of these masks in my life. We're like, it's so crazy when you think of it. But it's understanding, where did the mask originate, right?
Yeah.
Some masks, they've served a purpose.
Are there healthy masks too, right?
But
are there
masks can be serve a purpose, but when are they becoming unhealthy? When is it becoming an identity? Right.
I'm just absorbing it all. Like, I feel like we could talk for hours.
So if your identity, let's relate this to your question, or your experience with your brother, and you're put in this, like, I'm okay, the mask, right?
Yeah.
Your identity is I'm fine, but behind you're crumbling.
Well, I also, just to be specific about that story, like I make excuses for feeling a certain way. Like if I think about him, like I do something at work, and I'm like, oh, I have to be so fun to tell him. He was a big jock too, so if I'll do something sports oriented, I'm like, you won't believe what I just did. And then I realize, oh, he's gone. I'll never be able to tell him that. And then I'm like,
well, you still can.
Yeah, but I do sort of in a way make excuses. And I'm like, oh, we weren't that close for years anyways, so my feelings are maybe just dumb feelings anyways, so I shouldn't feel them because we weren't even close at the end. So it's weird.
I talk to my mom every day, and there's something that always pops on my clock, 444, when it's 444.
Oh.
Right, because that's like the angel or the so-and-so is watching over you and all that stuff.
Sure.
And that's my moment that I'm like, my mom's with me, and I say, hey, Mom, how you doing? Right? I have that little moment. morning, in the afternoon.
I talk to chicken tenders quite a lot.
100%, right? And for me, it's like, it's just nice. Like, it just works for me.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I'll be on the treadmill, and I'll see, like, in the morning, I'll be running. 444 pops up in the screen. I'm like, hey, Mom, how you doing? I'll just say hi.
Yeah.
I'll actually sometimes say it out loud. Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, just because they're not physically here, it doesn't mean that we can't have that conversation with them.
Right? I like that. I'm such a, yeah, I get you.
Anyway,
I'm such an,
let them.
Yeah, that is true. Holy crap. How do people find you? Where can people, do you do online counseling?
Yeah.
Coaching? Like, because that's another thing while going into looking for like a therapist. Or now I'm even thinking I need a life coach. That's Goose. Yeah. Like the benefits of in-person versus online, and someone like yourself, like a lot of my people are going to listen are here in the States, but they could also reach out to you if they, somehow hear something in your voice and you're connected. Where's the best place for them to find you?
So a lot of my clients that I've worked with are in Canada and the US. The session I had with the gentleman this morning he's from Miami.
Right.
I've got another couple of gentlemen that I'm starting with in the States. But it's all done online, right? I've got most of my sessions are run online.
Yeah, COVID's changed a lot. That was probably, I don't know if it had directly to do with COVID, but COVID really showed people, hey, we don't all need to go into the office or have an office.
Yeah. So it's, when I'm working at my retreat, the rehab, I actually, with my friend, we drive down. It's about an hour drive. But for those purposes, I want to be in person, right? Because they're going through I'm not going to say more, but they're going through a recovery journey, and I want to be in that energy. And yes, face-to-face is almost better, sometimes better. Some people just want to be in the comfort of their home where there's a safe space, right? And that works for people. But it's people can find me through my website at liftingstones.com.au. I'm sure I'll give you all the information you can plug with.
Yeah, I'll list it all.
But yeah, no, with anyone that is looking, right, we jump on an initial call, right? I want to understand where you're at, where you want to be, what you need to get there, and see if what I have is a good match for you.
Sure.
So it's and what can you bring to the table, right? Because a lot of people were like, I want change, but are you willing to do the work?
Right. Like, do you have a magic? Yeah. Can we do all this healing in one session? Yeah, it takes work.
100%. You can create some, like today's session. I'm going to keep going back to it, but there was a massive shift in him and a massive realization, right? That this guy had. And he's like, I am attaching my dad's acceptance and external and validation to me. I'm not going through things because of the way I was treated as a child.
Right.
And so there's this massive realization to be like, oh, this is making sense to why I keep putting off going towards my goals.
Yeah.
Right.
That is incredible. It's so funny. Out of talking to you for like 52 minutes, I really now more than ever realize, I cannot wait to talk to a therapist or life coach, because this has been healing for me.
Amazing.
Feel free to send me a bill, because, a lot of things you've talked about are things are happening to me right now, like today, this morning, lying on the couch earlier instead of going to the gym because I got a little depressed.
Yeah.
And I was like, who cares? We're going to the gym today. So this has really encouraged me to like reach out to, someone and then further this conversation, because I really feel like I could talk to someone who is a paid professional, because in general, I always really feel like I'm too much for people. And I'm always in the back of my mind, I'm always saying enough. Oh, you've said too much. Oh, you shouldn't have said that. But I think if it's like a relationship with a professional, I hope to curb those thoughts, because that's always my thought. Anytime that I talk, I'm like, oh, too much.
You got to be more kind to yourself, my friend.
Too much.
Yeah. I think going through your journey, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, like you are allowed to go through what you're going to go through. Yeah. Right. And it might take a year, it might take 2 years, but the thing is, you're not going to get over it. Like it's going to still be sad, but you must adapt.
Like a day passes and you're like, oh, that's behind me.
Yeah, but then you're going to get random things pop
Yeah.
up, and you're going to be like, breakdown. I was watching a show, the Matthew, the psyche guy, who's like the celebrity medium.
So I don't like mediums at all, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, I watched that episode probably 2 days. I watched an episode the 2 days after my mom died, and he was talking to this client, and he was like, "Oh, so I'm seeing a hummingbird, right?" And my mom loved hummingbirds, and I broke down. I went into the bathroom. I was like telling my friend, like, turn it off. I went in the bathroom.
Yeah, like instead of the episode, he was like, all of a sudden like talking to you or something.
Hummingbird. My mom loved hummingbirds. Trigger. Yeah. Boom. Right. And my friend's standing there. He's like, I'm just bawling my eyes on this toilet, and instead of his hand, he's like, "You're gonna be okay."
Yeah.
And I was just like, cool. I'm like, I'm gonna go through this. I'm not gonna fight it.
Yeah, let it out.
100%. Like, if you're gonna, but stop pretending that you're okay.
Yeah. The other thing that I 100% know that helps and feels good and is a healthy alternative is exercise.
Yes.
I mean, I know exercise is a good thing, maybe supplemented with like sort of like talk life coaching, but like exercise is the one thing that I always feel better about. Always, like mentally, if I just do some sort of like sweat or process or go to the gym and then for an hour or 2 hours. But that's the one thing personally I've noticed that's like always helpful.
Yeah. So rather than the things that you're doing to avoid, right, do the things that are going to help you be stronger.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to say, the questions, the conversations I had with myself going through my journey was, this is going to be really tough. You're going to get through this. I had to go through me going home for the first time, me going to my mom's bedroom, all these things I had conversations on. Going into this is going to be really tough, but you're going to get through it and it's going to make you stronger. Going through this process is going to be really tough, but you're going to get through it and you're going to get stronger. Right? I repeated on a daily basis. That shit got me through.
Yeah.
Right? I had these really healthy conversations, but reinforced myself that I was going to be more than capable to get through, that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
It sucks right now.
Right.
Like 2 months ago, like, fuck yeah, you're allowed to be fucking miserable and depressed. 100% feel it, right? But you're going to be okay. And that's the conversation.
That's true.
With yourself.
I love that. And then I guess probably if you tell yourself that and then you get through a situation and then you're okay, it just gives you confidence to be like, the next time you want to say, I'll be okay.
Yep.
I'll be okay.
Yep.
All right, so this is going to sound so trivial, but I wrote down one thing to kind of keep it light. I was like, what things in your life right now are you saying hell yes about, whether it's TV, a band, music, food?
Ooh.
Is there something in your life that's just really giving you pleasure right now?
Pleasure. I think it's coming to the end of the book, really. I've just seen the first cover edit of the book. I just had a meeting with the editor, so they're now going into the first edit. I've got 3 editors that are reading my book currently, and so it's just like the gritty stuff which is happening. So I'm like, there is so much emotion wrapped around this book because it's me being very vulnerable, and I talk about my relationship with my dad, and just the thought of him reading it is like very emotional, and then there's that anxiety and all these things that are coming up for me, and the editor's like, this is normal. This is a very normal thing to feel at this point of your book.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you think like, oh, I'm writing a book, I'm sharing my life, but then you're like, who the fuck's going to read it? And you're like, oh my God, they're going to read it. And I really talk about some shit, and it's not, I don't slang anyone in this book, but I really share some stuff in there. I talk about relationships and all this stuff, and it's, people are going to perceive it how they want to perceive it, but it's not about that. It's me sharing the real shit, the shit that people don't talk about, the shit that happens behind the smile, right?
People are going to relate. People are also, all the shit that you thought, maybe I should have left that out, they're going to be like, that'll be the one thing someone's going to say. That was helpful.
There are so many stories in this book that so many people are going to relate to. Like, it's just, I don't even remember half.
Is it specifically like, you think, queer men will relate, or just people in general? Because I know a lot of some topics and content creators or book authors are very like queer focused or LGBTQ focused.
I think that was a big request of mine was, when I was creating the subtitle for my book, I'm like, I don't want it to be the mask that men wear, because I'm like, we all wear masks.
Yeah.
This is a story through a gay man's life, but the stories in it will relate to anyone, right? Yes, I'm gay, but I grew up as a gay child, and I talk about those struggles, and I talk about high school and being bullied and all these things. So, but there's stories that everyone goes through, right? So it's not a specific target market that I'm trying to target. There are stories to this book that everyone will relate to.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to reading this.
I'm
excited for you. You're such a nice guy. I know it's so weird to say, but you seem like such a nice guy. Damn it. That's good. Good on you, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
And maybe we could talk again once the book comes out. I'll definitely let me know what I can do to help have more people see it.
That'd be amazing. Love that.
And all that. And let's talk again soon. Thanks for my therapy session. Thanks for doing 2 podcasts for the price of 1.
I'll send you my invoice and my booking link.
Oh, please send me all of that, all your links, all your invoices.
Beautiful.
All your good juju. And let's talk again soon.
You bet. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Rob.